Yeah, so this is the issue I'm having with the Focus. As you can see, you can visibly see the vibration that's going on with the car. I've just got the camera just on the little holster here at the moment on the dashboard. And we're just going to take this for a little bit of a drive, and with the engine mount not quite doing what it's supposed to be doing, I'm just going to back out of the driveway. You can hear sort of the vibration going on, but when you see that big shutter, so what we'll do, we'll take off again, and then hear that big shake. That's a bit of a big shake that we're getting with the engine mount. So the engine mount being old, that's what's sort of causing our issue. So what we're going to do, I've just got to grab it down to, oh, there it goes again. So it just shakes the whole drivetrain as well as the engine. So I'm just going to grab down and grab another tool that I need, and we'll get onto it. Talk soon. And this is the engine mount we're putting in. It's an aftermarket for a 2009 Focus. And we'll just get this out of the box. So there we go. So this is basically what it looks like. Okay, let's shove that out of the way. This is what we're working with. This is what our engine mount basically looks like. There's your main body. That's where your 4 bolts basically go in. It goes into the body. And then these ones that you see here, will go into the engine. As you can see, you have the rubber membrane, and inside this is actually a hydraulic fluid. There's actually a hydraulic engine mount, and that's why, unfortunately, over time these do have a tendency of failing. So there we have it. That's obviously the product number on the back there. So I'm looking at it upside down, but anyway, yeah, well there you go. That's our new engine mount, which will be going in to our Ford Focus. Okay, this is our engine bay, of course. Down in here is the engine mount. I don't know if you can actually see. Yeah, the lighting's probably not too crash hot. Actually, well, got some light. Here we go, that's better. So we'll just zoom out of there for a second. Okay, there we go. Now we can see the engine mount just in there. And there's one of the bolts, which we can see down the bottom there, which we'll be undoing. There we go, I've got a better view now, and that's where you can just see our e-Torx. There's just right there is one of the air conditioning lines, which happens to be in the way, but we'll find a way to get around that. First of all, what we'll do is we'll just remove this engine cover off the engine first, so we need to get to where we need to go. And as you can see now, we've got a better view of the engine mount. And as you can see, here's our e-Torx shafts. You can just see the tops of those. We'll just zoom in so you can see those. This is what we were going to be looking at. But you can clearly see, if I zoom in, you can see with the membrane on the mount, it's got leaking fluid. Oh, sorry, the camera's just not behaving for me. There we go. You can just see the fluid just sitting at the top there where it's all ruptured, and that's what's causing a lot of our shuttering to happen. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing we need to do when we are doing the engine mount is we need to put a trolley jack underneath the car to keep the weight of the engine where we need it. Without this, our engine's just going to fall straight through. You don't want that. So as you can see, I'm just getting this level with the flat surface under the oil pan of the engine. And then what we're going to do, there we go. Now there you can see that's just giving it a slight little bit of lift. And there we have it. That gives the engine support. Okay, so first of all what we're going to do is we're going to remove these bolts, as you can see where the bottom of the mount is. And we've got our torque wrench here so we can get that to the correct torque. And I've already partially undone this one. So we're just getting in there now, and we can just we'll just remove the torque wrench now, and we'll get this one undone. So loosen that one off. Okay, so I'll just have to move the reservoir across so we can get this onto here. And we can do the same with this one. We'll just get our torque wrench onto there. Now it takes a bit of effort just to get this off. Just like that. Oh yeah. There we go. Got it. Okay, so that's our main engine mount. Bolts undone. So now we can just sort of loosen these off now. So those are pretty friggin' tight, as they would say. Actually, I could just use my regular ratchet handle for that. So we can just probably just whack this little baby on there. Yeah. There we go. And now what we should be able to do is just loosen those out with our hand now and get those out. Okay, now that's that out. And then what we're going to do is just get my hand in here and just undo these two bolts. As you can see, they're a pretty decent sized bolt, as you can see. Once you actually get them out, let's get our hand in here, get this one out. There we go. And one thing to always check when you're taking things apart to make sure you've got, sometimes you can have bolts one longer than the other. That sometimes can be a bit of an issue. Okay, now the next one is going to be our, where are we? Our 17mm socket that we need to remove this one off. Once again, I think we need the torque wrench to get this baby off. Okay, so it just gives us a bit more leverage to, oh, a bit of a, here we go. You always get a little bit of a snap sometimes, because these are on a very strong torque. Actually, one thing I forgot today is just to undo this little small little mount part off the engine mount itself. Just get this out of the way. That's purely just a support for the aircon line which goes on top of the mount. Okay, we'll repeat the same process again. Probably need a bit of torque once again to get this baby off. Oh yeah, that's the tight one. Oh baby. Okay, I'm running into a bit of issues with this one, I think. Hang on. Okay, I'm just going to try something. Probably something I should have done beforehand. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray some WD-40 just on these little, something I probably should have done initially. That hopefully helps to loosen the whole unit and the actual nut and bolt on top. Oh yeah, I tell you what, they've really got these on tight, these babies, I'll tell you that much. Far out, ski. Okay, I'm just gonna stop it there for a tick. Okay, guys, back again. Just had a few trials and tribulations here. After trying to get these ones actually off, I ended up stripping and absolutely snapping one of my extension rods. So what I ended up having to do is actually resort to a half drive unit to get the bolt off. There we go. See, that's now nice and loose now. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Comes off with ease, like a knife through butter. Look at that. Okay. Unfortunately, it does happen from time to time when you try and undo things. And yeah, fun and games. Okay, so I'm just going to take this off. We've just got to keep an eye on the engine here too. At this point, that the engine doesn't drop on us, because we want to keep an eye on where the engine's sitting right now. We want to make sure that the engine's properly weighted. There we go. So that's sitting nice and free. See, as you can see, the engine is freely moving right there. Hopefully we can just get these nuts off. And look at the size of that thing. That's a half drive. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, I think we're almost there. Hopefully I'm getting that in the shot. Okay. I'm just going to undo that with our fingers. Okay. Now the next job we need to do, now that engine mount, as you can see, is now moving freely. So it's a matter of just moving this thing out of the way, lifting this up, tilting that back, and then lifting it up over this aircon line. You can see that whole thing's just moving. Look at that in my hand. That shouldn't even be moving. That thing is absolutely had it. As you can see, that thing's absolutely kaput. So the trick is to try and get this thing out of here now. And it's not as easy as you think it is. Okay, I've just got to lift this end here. There we go. There we have the engine mount. Now look at that. That should not be moving like that. I mean, look how that thing is absolutely kaput. You can see there, see how that top part should not be moving around. This fluid just leaking out everywhere. So there we have it. Engine's still sitting there nice, and there's our engine mount. And I'll be back with a new one. Okay, let's have a look at the comparison of the two mounts. Now this is the new one I have ready to go in, and this is the old one, the one I just took out. Now, I don't know if you can see this on the video, but if you look very carefully into there, you can see the membrane is completely cracked open. There's fluid. Actually, what I might do, I'll put it down here, and I'll put my finger. See, my finger is literally just going right through that. But you can see how that's all soft and spongy. And the other thing too, I can move that whole mount. Actually, I'll bring it up this way with my hand. That I should not be able to do that. That just goes to show that that thing is well and truly end of life. When we can compare to the new one, see, as you can see, this one lovely and firm. Look at that. That's beautiful. That's how we want it. Now the other comparison is when you put the two. Hold on a second. Get that to sit right. Now look at the distance in here. Now look at that large space. Now that's the old one. This is the new one. See how high up that is compared? Now that's where it should be sitting. Now that gives you the necessary space, and also the ability to hold the engine and reduce the vibration. As you can see with this one, it is significantly dropped out. So the engine's sitting in a lower position, and plus it's not taking out the vibration. So there's your new one and the old one. You can clearly see the difference between the two. You're probably looking at that and thinking, why does the top look different? The only difference being is this has a lower top here, where this part is higher, but technically this part is the same height as this. So you often get that with aftermarket parts. They look different, but it does exactly the same job. But there you have it. That's the comparison between the old mount and the new mount. And that's unfortunately what happens over time. It's just wear and tear. All right, let's get it into the car. Alrighty, okay, so I'm going to get this new engine mount in. I'll put the old one back in. That could be a problem, couldn't it? Alright, okay, here we go. So there's a new mount. So that one's all ready to go in. Okay, so this is where the tricky part is now, is trying to get this little bugger back in. Try and get it in the same way we got it out. This is going to be fun. Okay, so let's get this into here. And then lower this down. Just going to manoeuvre that line slightly. And in we go. And then what we need to do now is to lift this section over onto here. Now it's a little tricky. There we go. There you go. On you go, my beauty. Okay, so what we're going to have to do here is the dimensions, I think, are slightly different. Well, because that has dropped, as you can see, so I'm going to push the engine this way a little. Now, that mount is now sitting up a lot higher because of the old mount being lower down. What we have to do now is lift that engine up a little. There we go. Okay. So that's now lifted up to a high position, which is what we want. That goes to show how low that engine had sagged, which is yeah, pretty insane. So let's get these bolts back on. Okay, now same as before. Okay, so we're now putting this nuts back in, these bolts. Nuts, I should say. Okay, now we've got this torque wrench set at 55. Check if that's correct. Yeah, 55 Newton meters is what we want on this one, which should be the factory spec. I don't know, get up, but anyway. Okay. I'll just get them both tightened up first before we start putting the newtons in. That way we can then get the whole car ready to rock and roll. And as you can see, it is currently bedded with the body right now because I've had to lift the engine up. So that's now sitting at the right position of where it needs to be. Okay, let's just put to use some muscle for this bit. Here we go, you hear that click? That's your 55 Newton meters. There we go. We'll just make sure of that, we'll just double check. And there we have it. Beautiful. Okay, so now the next one we need to go 65 Newton meters, so we need to just change our torque wrench. Alright folks, we're pretty much on the home stretch now, so we're putting these two bolts back in now, which is in the base, which goes into the engine. Sorry, body, get that right. Okay. As you can see, sometimes you have very limited space to work with sometimes when you're working on cars. Sometimes you've got to be a bit of a contortionist to get in and get the job done. You probably see why mechanics charge so much labour for this stuff. So try, what we finger tight these in first before we go and use the wrench, because you don't want to go cross threading. Cross threading is a real problem. Not something you want. Okay, alright, so we've got our torque wrench set to 65 Newton meters, and we've got our 16mm socket, and then we can now tighten these ones up to the specific. There we go. Hear that click? That's your torque wrench doing its job. Now that's how tight they should be. Okay. Okay. Just got to be careful around this air conditioning line here, because you don't want to scratch or dent or damage. Sorry, just some noisy cars going past. You don't want to damage the air conditioning line, so it's a matter of just being really careful around that air conditioning line. Okay, we tighten this up. Bring this to the factory spec. There we go. As soon as you get that loud click, you know you've got the right amount of spec. And what we do, I'll just do a double check and make sure. Okay, that's beautiful. I always just do a double take just to make sure. And that's beautiful. There we have it. So that is all fully in. So what we can do now, we can now lower the cart. That's all fully bolted in and ready to rock and roll, and we can just lower that. There we go. Now that engine mount is now taking the full weight of the engine, which is what it was designed to do. There we go. Now we can just pop our little reservoir back in position. There we go. So there we have it. That's our new engine mount. Done and complete. We'll take it for a bit of a test drive too later on sometime, and we'll do a bit of a comparison of what I showed you before. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I've got our engine cover back on now, and we're all set. Reservoir's back in place. Click that back in, and there's our new engine mount. You can see that all nicely all tightened up and ready to go. And I'll also remove the jack. The jack's been lowered underneath the car, so now the new engine mount's now doing its job. What we're going to do, we're going to quickly take this out for a test drive, and we're going to compare what I showed you before. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this for a test drive. Whoops, we'll just go off the curb here. Now, look at that. There's absolutely no shudder. Look at that. That is smooth as a baby's bum. That is beautiful. The difference a new engine mount makes is absolutely incredible. So we're just going to go for a quick little drive around the corner here. Now I'm just going to wind the windows up actually. So even inside the car is so much quieter. This is incredible. It's like a brand new car again. That goes to show how much the mount was lagging inside the engine. It was lagging immensely. Don't worry, I'm actually using my phone inside the holster, so I'm not using my phone illegally. For those people who are asking, you're using your phone while driving, that's illegal. Well, actually no, it's actually in a holster. So, as long as you don't text while driving, it's not illegal. So, that was a good test, and there we go. We've just renewed the whole engine mount. Now, I did that myself. Now, I've just saved myself. Oh, okay. And I'll just save myself a new phone as well. Hang on. Sorry about that, folks. My phone decided to jump out of the mount. But here we go. The whole car is just so much smoother. It is running beautifully. But there we have it. Nice new engine mount, smooth car. There's like no shake. The mirror's not shaking. The mirror was shaking beforehand. But there we have it. Beautiful. Thanks for watching, guys.